Good morning. Hello. Hey, hey. Welcome to Wednesday Hobby Evolution. Lost track of what number we're on. 640 something, I believe. Trash day and recycling. Big day in the house. Nasty coffee. I slept in today. You would think you slept in. You must have had too many Bud Lights last night. No, quite the opposite, actually. I had a Pepsi. I'm like Fuller from Home Alone, except I don't wet the bed when I drink Pepsi. I just can't fall asleep. So I was awake until like 11:30, which is way, way, way past my bedtime. And then I didn't want to wake up this morning. So that's why drink Pepsi, oversleep. Fortunately, I don't have a Fuller from Home Alone problem and wet the bed. Herman's with us. What is up, Herman? Good morning to you. Paul Carl Cards in the house. Royals 417. Victor, good morning. Dan is with us. Fall Creek Collectibles. Scotty Dubs, what is up? Jenny wants to talk about how I sold 7 cards in 24 hours. eBay tanked. She wants to know if anyone else had that issue. Good morning, Cliff. Low Roller Scratcher in the house. You heard the new drama. Kevin Durant demands fire the GM. Choose him or fire Steve Nash and GM. Kevin Durant in the news. Oh, that's gross coffee. Ugh. I need new Wi-Fi. I need a new coffee maker. I need to stop drinking Pepsi before bedtime. I'm a mess. I'm a mess on Wednesday. So Jenny has an issue with eBay, and I did not notice. Well, anecdotally, I did not notice any issues within eBay. I was seemingly yesterday. It seemed like I was gaining a similar amount of activity, whether it be through purchases or watchers, interactions, and all that. So anecdotally, I did not see any big changes within eBay, no glitchiness. But let's actually look and see at the numbers where I was at yesterday. Again, I had a great, basically Friday through Monday. I had a really good day on Monday. Tuesday, it was down. It was down, but I mean, it was only the lowest day since last Thursday. So, I mean, and it's on the lower side of my days. I went through a stretch in July. Actually, it was the week before the National was my lowest stretch. National week, I had high numbers. And 2 weeks before the National, I had good numbers. And, this last 7-day stretch. So nothing was off within my eBay store. I had an average, I would say an average to slightly below average day on eBay on Tuesday. Now, when I look at my 31-day numbers, my last 31 days, my sales are down 11%. But when I look at my traffic's actually up, although the traffic has slightly decreased. It's not, I mean, it's still in the green, but it's less green than it was over the last couple of weeks. My impressions, I'm just shy of 23 million impressions, which is up 28%. My page views are up 12%, which are down from a week ago, but still, well into the green. But I care about those final numbers, the sales numbers. That's what I really want to see. But usually there's a trickle down effect. The higher impressions leads to higher page views, leads to higher sales. So I didn't notice any changes in my traffic or glitchiness on eBay. Paul says my sales on the 8th and 9th were 50% lower than a normal day, but it happens sometimes, so I don't worry much. Yeah, and it's kind of strange. The last time that happened to me, I didn't notice it until I saw somebody tweet about it. And then I went and looked, and holy crap, my numbers were way, way off. And it wasn't because it was the weekend. It wasn't because of seasonality. It was just there must have been some type of glitch within eBay. But that was a couple months ago, and I haven't had that issue since. I haven't noticed any. Paul says 8th and 9th. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't have pretty. I would say average to slightly below average. I guess I have to look to see what is average when I'm comparing these numbers. What is average? Let's see, but it is in bar chart form, so at least I have that reference point. Cliff says, does your internet provider have the Wi-Fi signal boosters? I'm not sure. I should probably look into that. Fall Creek, eBay is so weird lately. Selling cards as I'm listing them. $1.50 Derek Jeter has no views. It is interesting what is, and I mentioned this, I think yesterday, where I'll list 25 football cards from the same set. Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. But the one that sells is Todd Marinovich, Brian Brahm. And as I think Rich pointed out, somebody pointed out in the chat, well, there's less competition for those types of cards on eBay. And here's something, I mentioned this on Hobby Hotline last night. If you didn't watch live, go back and check out Hobby Hotline here on YouTube or other streaming platforms. Is that sometimes we think if we know it, everyone knows it. And the example I brought up last night was a friend of mine who's in marketing mentioned this. And this is when I was, I really hadn't got into hobby Twitter at this point. This is we're talking probably 2015 or 2016. Like I was deep into the hobby, but I hadn't discovered like the hobby on social media, like the communities. I was in some Facebook groups. That was my main in Beckett forums and Blowout forums. But I had an account, and it was basically one of those annoying Twitter accounts that does nothing but sends out links to their eBay or, hey, I'm selling this. And it was a selling account. And I wasn't grasping what Twitter could actually do if you have, if you provide good content. And so our friend mentioned, and I think I had a blog, but it was just like here and there. It was nothing. It's just like write some content about how to ship cards, like basic content that it's second nature to you, but to many people it's not. And I'm like, here I am being dismissive and stubborn. I'm like, that's not going to work. And I tried it out just on a whim. And this was back when eBay Bucks was a big thing. And I wrote a blog about eBay Bucks and I tweeted it out. And boom, so many people had no idea about eBay Bucks. And they were leaving. One of my good friends, Kyle, texts me and he's like, holy crap, I've been leaving hundreds of dollars on the table. And because he buys a ton of game used stuff. And he's like, I was never signed up for this. And it's like some of these things that we take for granted in creating content. And as we talked about, Mike Moynihan mentioned some of his largest trafficked videos are, how to ship a card or how to collect vintage baseball. I think he mentioned. Mike Summers says, his most trafficked is a guide to first Bowman cards, but also how to ship cards. And those are things we take for granted. But a large majority of people that may not be deep into the hobby like us, if you're consuming this content, you're probably pretty deep into the hobby, and, how to ship a card safely is second nature to you. But to somebody who finds baseball cards in their, childhood home and they want to sell them on eBay and they haven't touched a baseball card in 30 years, they may not know how to ship safely a baseball card, or new collectors that are getting in. When I started the 1 Million Cubs project and I was doing all these trades, I had so many people first time, I've actively collected, but I don't sell cards. I just buy them. So I've never shipped a card. How do I do it, without damaging it? And I think it's something that we all take for granted, much like selling cards on eBay. For us, we think, why would I list? And I will say, because I'm gonna because I mentioned, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, so I'm gonna clarify what I am about to say. We take for granted within the hobby community all of the different platforms to buy, sell, and trade cards. eBay, ComC, Sport Lots. So that's what I'm going to use. Sport Lots. You can go buy superstar cards from the junk wax era, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, available. 1987 Topps, one of the best sellers in my eBay store. If I were to break it down by set, what cards sell from a set? 87 Topps, and I'm selling them for $1.50 shipped. And the person's, if they're in a state that has sales tax, they're paying tax on top of that. So $1.60 for, I just sold a 1987 Topps Ruben Sierra card. There's probably 500, if not more, on Sport Lots of the 87 Topps Ruben Sierra for 18 cents. Now you got to add shipping, and you have to know how to navigate the Sport Lots website, which is worth going to eBay and spending the $1.60 as opposed to 90 cents or whatever it's going to cost, along with trying to navigate the Sport Lots website. But we just kind of assume, oh, it's a common, I can go to Sport Lots and buy this card for 18 cents. And that's what I think. So it's like, well, if I think that, everybody else thinks that. Which, as we've learned, that is not the case. People will go to eBay. There's many collectors within the hobby, and I bet these videos get a couple hundred views. I bet there's at least 5 people that watch this video that have never heard of Sport Lots, or if they have, they've never, I bet a large, even, maybe 50% of the people that have watched this video have never, used Sport Lots. Probably more than 50%. But there are collectors. I bought a huge, like basically a Craigslist buy a few years ago, and it was probably in the 300 to 400,000 card range, and a lot of like late 90s, early 2000s, which was cards that I didn't have. And this is the time. This is probably 2016, somewhere in that area. And I was selling on Sport Lots, and I think I peaked at like 100,000 cards in Sport Lots, and I spent hours and hours and hours sorting and listing cards on Sport Lots. And I was listing, and I started it because another Craigslist buy was 78 Topps, 79 Topps, and I'm like, man, I'll make a killing on Sport Lots, and I didn't. I sell way more 1978 Topps cards out of my eBay store than what I was on Sport Lots, and I had a much larger inventory back then, because I think I ended up, once I dumped my Sport Lot store, it's like, I'm just going to sell this medium flat rate box of 78 Topps, and I probably only made $40 on it, $50. So somebody got a deal back in 2018. So that's the thing we kind of take for granted when listing cards. Now, I'm going to go back and say, while there's less competition for that Brian Brahm Green Bay Packers football card, there's also way less demand. So you can list 100,000 commons in eBay, and your sell-through rate's going to be just brutally, pitifully low. So then it comes down to, is it worth your time? And that's like my least favorite question, because only one person can answer that, and that's you. Is it worth my time to sell $1.50 cards on eBay? Yes. When it stops, when it's no longer worth my time, if that point ever comes, I will stop selling cards on eBay for $1.50. There's also outside forces that could, swoop in and drastically affect that. And the first thing you do is, you adjust this latest postage stamp rise in cost did not affect me because I'd built in future postage rate increases. However, if it goes up again, I'm going to have to alter it. And I will say it didn't completely affect because now what I was countering it, I have a $1.50 card. People would, offer me $1. I would counter it $1.30 or $1.35. Now it's $1.40. And I have enough sales coming in that it's, I'm not going to get into a back and forth. If somebody offers me $1 and I counter it $1.40, they countered $1.10, and that happened last night. It's like, decline. I'm not going to spend my time going back and forth over a nickel or a dime. So it's $1.40. If they counter back at like $1.35, I'll probably take that. But if it's $1.20 or $1.25, I'll either counter back at $1.40 or just decline it if it's, low. So while I say, yes, there's less competition, so that's why you'll see sales of Dan McGuire and Browning Nagel and Brian Brom. There's also a lot less demand for those types of cards. So it comes down to, is it worth your time? And only one person can answer that. I hate it when people chime in from the from the peanut gallery. Hey, look, I sold this card for $1.50. Well, is it worth your time? Well, apparently, yes, because I'm doing it full time and I'm still doing it full time until it stops becoming worth my time. I'll no longer do it. All right. So that's my soapbox. Where are we at? So Fall Creek. So yeah, it's strange. But there's a lot more in part of the reason why you may not have views on your Derek Jeters is because, while yes, there's more demand right now for Derek Jeter cards because of the documentary, everybody's listing their Derek Jeter cards. It's kind of like my philosophy on Sunday night auctions. I don't typically run, I hate auctions, so I don't run them typically at all. But if I were to run auctions, I would not choose Sunday night. Why? Because everybody runs auctions on Sunday night. And no, not literally everybody, but many people still do because it's kind of an antiquated philosophy. Well, back in 2001, we had computer time, and this is probably before some were even born. Well, looking at my demographics, probably not. But if you remember back in the early days of eBay, 98, 99, 2000, you had like designated computer time. Like, we didn't have phones. We couldn't like lay on the couch and look at eBay, on a Monday night or at 3 a.m. because we can't sleep because we drank too much Pepsi the night before. We had designated computer time. And when was designated computer time for many online shoppers? Sunday nights. Coming off, we're home from the weekend. We've done our family Sunday stuff. Now it's 7 p.m., 8 p.m. It's my hour of computer time. And I'm going to plug in the dial-up, and make sure nobody calls for the next hour because I'm going to be downloading music on Napster and buying stuff on eBay. So it's kind of an antiquated, thought process behind, oh, you got to list your cards on Sunday. That's when everybody's shopping. No, not anymore. Because now we have instant access to eBay 24 hours a day. When we go to the bathroom, as gross as that sounds, how many people are looking at eBay while they're in the bathroom, sitting at a stoplight, waking up in the middle of the night because of a thunderstorm or drinking too much Pepsi. We just have instant access to eBay all the time. And that's going along the lines of Derek Jeter not having any views. There's just a glut of Derek Jeter stuff on eBay now because there's a documentary. Everybody wants to buy Derek Jeter, where, yes, there is an increased demand in Derek Jeter, but there's also an increased supply, which can limit the eyeballs on your particular listings. Jenny says, I agree, Paul. I tend not to worry, but my eBay also suddenly dropped my 90-day total and put my paid ship now is everything from April to July. That's been shipped months ago. It's real strange. I guess one thing I would suggest, Jenny, would be closing the app and opening it back up, or if that doesn't work, maybe sign in, sign out. This is my the range of my technical knowledge. Sign in, sign out, sign back. I guess it's sign out, sign in, sign out, sign back in. That doesn't work. Close, refresh the app or whatever. Close the window and open it back up. And then if that doesn't work, delete the app and open it back up. And if that doesn't work, then contact eBay and say, hey, what the hell's going on with my eBay? Because that is strange. That's really strange. Paul says, I saw on Reddit somewhere that another guy had that paid and shipped issue. Interesting. So it's not just an isolated incident. Card Hobbyist, good morning. Let's see. Fall Creek says, yeah, Paul, I had a paid card auto relist. That's weird. Oh, wow. That would super suck about a paid card auto relisting. Paul says, I sell like 10 Carl Herrera cards for every Kobe Bryant card I sell. That's awesome. And speaking of that, I found those two Kobe Bryant rookie cards last week in my Goodwill pallet. I looked at comps are around $40. I think $35 to $40. So I'm like, I'm gonna put $50 it has like hardly any views. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Kobe Bryant rookie. I figured, people I figured I would have had them sold within like a 24-hour period, because sometimes when I list stuff like that, it sells right away. It's been nearly a week and they're still sitting. In fact, I almost forgot about them. And then it popped up on my, hey, send an offer. And I'm like, oh, I'll send an offer for $40. I think when I listed it, I had a few watchers and I sent $45 offers just because it was, had only been online for a few hours. But then it'd been a few days. And I'm like, I'll drop it down to $40. And that's similar to where comps are from what I saw. So, yeah, it is interesting that my Kobe's just don't sell. And that's another thing, like Michael Jordan cards. Like, you would think you'd list Michael Jordan cards and they sell right away. My Jordan cards just kind of sit. I'll list 10 Michael Jordan cards and I'll sell like 2 right away. And then I'll sell another 2 like within a couple days, and then maybe another one within a week, and then 5 just sit. And it's like, and then all of a sudden, a few months later, it's like, oh, they all sold, because then it's just kind of a trickle. Jenny says, I just talked to a guy that runs a brick and mortar and has an eBay for 11 years. He had no idea there was an eBay coupon for shipping supplies. That's a lot of money left on the table in 11 years, definitely. And that's another thing. People that have eBay stores, don't realize that there's the coupon. If it's a basic store, it's a $25 per quarter coupon. For a premium store, it's $50. And I haven't bought bubble mailers. I mean, I haven't bought standard size bubble mailers to like ship cards in a few years. Because when I was, I had an eBay store and I just kept buying bubble mailers. So I had like a huge supply of bubble mailers. So I never had to buy any. And then I had so many that it's like, okay, I should probably buy the big size bubble mailers. And then I didn't go through those. And it's like, well, I still have a ton of these small bubble mailers. Now I'm going to buy boxes. And now I use the boxes. I save the 4-row boxes for, my bargain boxes at card shows, my Cubs cards. So I don't like selling those off in bulk. So I'll put the cards from those, like the commons, and those 4-row boxes into the eBay boxes that I got with my coupon. And now I'm running low on that, but now my sales are going up significantly. So now I'm basically going through 200 bubble mailers a quarter. And it's like this quarter, this may be the quarter where I have to like buy additional from eBay. Let's see. Jenny says, I wanted to sell singles on eBay for years, but everything I found on YouTube was singles don't sell on eBay for low dollar cards. Seeing you go full time into it, that's where I said, okay, let's try it. Absolutely. And I would have thought the same thing until I had time and certainly plenty of inventory on my side. And it's like, hey, all of a sudden, COVID kind of led to it. Let's put some of these cards in, and like, holy crap, these are really selling. And now it's like, let's just take a look at a recent sale on now. Again, I'm gonna preface this with oh, I sold holy crap, I had a ton of sales since I went live. That's good. So my Wednesday's already off to a great start. Sold a Peyton Manning. I sold that Jeff Gordon rookie card. Sold a Peyton Manning. Okay, so here, perfect example. Since I went live in the last few minutes, I sold a 1991 studio Jeff Kunkel from the Texas Rangers, where he's blowing a bubble with bubble gum. So that has sold within the last 30 minutes. I sold a Jeff Gordon 1992 Max Racing card. I sold a 1994 Mask promo card featuring Cameron Diaz, and that card sold for $15. I sold the 1979 Topps Davey Lopez, some wrestling cards. I sold a Ryan Leaf card from 1999 Topps, a Brian Pillman WCW card. So those are some of the things that sell. Now, here's the fortunate thing, that Jeff Kunkel card has only been in my store for like 24 hours, if that. But some of my other cards, I sold a Ryan Leaf card. I've probably have Ryan Leaf cards in my inventory that have been sitting in my eBay store for 2 years. So I do want to add that disclaimer that just because I sold a Jeff Kunkel studio card blowing a bubble doesn't mean that's going to sell for everybody and it's going to sell right away. You could list 1,000 cards from 1991 studio and only sell 2. But that does show you everything sells on eBay. Let's see. Cliff says a lot of those people think those 88 Donruss and Topps are $1,000 cards. Yeah, that's the tricky thing about Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. You see so many, like, I've got this unopened box of 88 Donruss, $50, and it's like, no thanks. I don't use Sport Lots because I hate the website. I feel like I'm playing Oregon Trail on the 90s PC when I go on the site. It doesn't feel modern, and I just can't figure it out fast enough. It's not just you. It's not a modern website by any means. I don't think it's been updated in the very first time I was on Sport Lots, and I bought and sold on Sport Lots back in like 2005, 2006. The website was the exact same as it is today. Herman has learned to love Sport Lots. And I have done, it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since I've actually bought any cards on Sport Lots. It was more when I think it was early on in my project. And I was focusing on Javi Baez, and there was a lot of cards that I needed. Now there's, the stuff that I'm like actively pursuing for Cubs, is not going to be on Sport Lots. But I did, speaking of that, I've got some eBay gift cards to use. I did finally make a purchase last night on a tobacco card. So I'll show that off when it arrives. There's a couple Cubs pre-war that I really have my eye on. One's really beautiful. But I'll have to save up my eBay gift cards to buy that one. Paul says, I've sourced some gems on Sport Lots to flip on eBay. Lots of opportunities to snag cards for $5 or less and sell on eBay for $20. And also, if I fell victim as a seller from a flipper, fell victim to a flipper because I had a bunch of like first Bowman cards. When Rhys Hoskins first was called up, he, hit several home runs, and all of a sudden his first Bowman base paper cards were selling for like $5. And I had like 5 or 6 because I think I bought a case of that Bowman that year. I had like 5 or 6 in Sport Lots for 18 cents. And somebody came in, bought all 5 or how many ever there was, and they got a hell of a deal. Probably paid $2 for 5 and flipped those for, 20 bucks. So there are definitely opportunities for flippers. Card Hobbyist says, I like sport lots as a buyer. I gave up selling, as listing there is a nightmare. I found listing, my problem and why I stopped, there were multiple reasons, and I think I shared them in a blog post at 1millioncubs.com. I didn't find listing as nightmarish as when box shipping came along, and I probably didn't give it enough time, but I found it very it was there were certain things with box shipping that I didn't like. I won't get into it, but there were just certain things. There were some other things that I didn't like about sport lots as a seller. But it does work. Mike Summer, prime example of sport lots working for sellers. I made a good run at it for a couple years, 2016, 2017. But then it came down to basically organization. And I think I was I going through a move? When did we moved into this house in 2016? So yeah, so I was still, in that probably why some of the organization got messed up, when I hauled cards from the old house to the new house. So organization is like the number one thing. If you want to sell on sport lots, you've got to be if you think you're organized, you're still not organized enough. That's the thing about sport lots, as a seller. Diego's in the house. What is up, Diego? Cooter, good morning. Made it back home. Welcome back. Glad you made it safe. Jenny said 2001, I had a Sunday night bath time and bedtime for school the next day. I didn't get eBay time. I didn't know eBay. I was in college in 2001. Let's see. Evenings dedicated computer time because dial-up tied up your phone line. Right on. What's up, Michael? Royals 417, 1998, we were still on a party line. I have won an eBay item from 737 moving down the taxiway. Don't tell the FAA. Jenny says, I'll call eBay. I deleted the app last night. For your Kobe's, verify you promoted them. All of my items are promoted, which I don't know if I should be doing that because, some of my stuff I know is selling to regulars, and it's like there's a promotional fee tied to it. And it's like, I don't think so. And so I'm curious on this whole eBay promotional thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out where people were being charged fees that they shouldn't have been. I have a feeling that's coming down the pipeline. Michael says local dial-up versus AOL. We did not have AOL. We had the local Geneseo Telephone Company. And I think any of us that grew up in that era can still remember the sounds that the dial-up makes. Dollar Box says, I don't buy bubble mailers either. Use my free store credit quarterly for them. Absolutely. Michael says, agree, sport lots great for buyers, awful for sellers. Dollar Box, thanks for the Favre card. Yes, you bet. And thank you. Added some Brett Favre cards to my store this week. Victor says, what's up, rookie card specialist? eBay PWE was a game changer. It was, and I was slow to adapt, actually. Now, I was selling PWE on eBay before standard envelope came along, and I didn't really have any issues. I had minimal issues. I will say, I have less issues now that standard envelope is in existence. But even with that said, I had minimal issues with a stamp. And I didn't even adapt to standard envelope until like December of last year because I was still getting, I don't have any, I used them all up, but I had a stamp guy. And he's a stamp collector who would buy stamps in bulk, basically kind of like what I do and what others do, buying bulk cards. Keep the good ones, sell those, and then the commons, bulk them out. So he would bulk out the common stamps. And he would actually affix, if it was 55 cents or now 60 cents on envelopes, on these number 10 envelopes from Costco. And they've got the, the peel and stick or whatever they're called. And my cost shipped for like 500 envelopes was basically 38 cents per stamped envelope. So if you put a stamp, like back then, I think it was 55 cents a stamp. I think we've had two raises or at least one. And at Costco, if I go to Costco and buy those envelopes in bulk, in the big 500 count boxes, they are 2.5 cents per envelope. So it would cost me essentially 58 cents per stamped envelope at either doing standard envelope or at the post office, 38 cents. So I was saving 20 cents per transaction, but there wasn't the so my eBay numbers, like my shipped with tracking numbers, I could never be a top rated. Is it top rated seller? Whatever the because it's power seller, which really means nothing, and then top rated seller. So you couldn't get top rated seller status because you didn't have the tracking, but I didn't care. It was and actually Chris Torres, CRT Sports Cards on Twitter and Instagram, he actually ran an experiment because he was like always hesitant, and he was like a poo-pooer of PWE shipping on eBay. And then he tried it, and the numbers, the sales that he made up, and this was before standard envelope, he more than made up the discount on your fees for being a top rated seller. He made more sales than what he made more money than what he saved on the fees. So it was a worthwhile venture. And he actually, tracked the numbers. But now I use standard envelope because my stamp guy ran out of stamps. But I do like there's protection. There's also added protection for sellers now, because if somebody claims they didn't get it and it's stuck in origin processing in Milwaukee, I can just refund the buyer and then file the claim with eBay. And by the way, I can share the link. Let's see. I'll just open it up. So if you run across this as a seller and you have to refund the buyer, this is the standard envelope claim form. This bookmarked because it's not easy to find. I will say this link to the claim form for standard envelope is not easy to find on eBay. So I have mine bookmarked. That way every time I don't have to go on eBay and then Google and find it on some blog, because it is difficult to find. So if you're doing standard envelope shipping, I would recommend bookmarking that or saving the link somewhere so you have easy access, because it can be difficult to find. Let's see. Cooter says Jeff Kunkel's dad was an MLB umpire. Dollar Box has been listing more non-sport lately. I tried listing some non-sport and I didn't have, and I think Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, I think had listed some and didn't have much success. Somebody I talked to, if it wasn't Jenny, it was somebody else. And I said, hey, by the way, how are your non-sport singles selling? And I listed some. I had some Charlie's Angels. I had some other random like 90s. And I'm like, these should sell. And they didn't. That Cameron Diaz has been in my store forever. So I'm glad it finally sold. Masood, what is up? 5-star cards in the house, which, by the way, you can submit if you're going to be at the Madison Card Show in August. 5-star cards will be out in the mezzanine on the second floor at the Sheraton Hotel. Where's it at? John Nolan Drive. So drop off your cards to 5-star, PSA and SGC, and some pretty awesome dollar boxes there at the 5-star booth. DR, good morning to you. Hope you have an awesome day. Dollar Box says the Field of Dreams game is tomorrow night. Cubs and Reds. Wah, wah. Isn't that two really, really awful teams playing in the Field of Dreams? But since I'm a Cubs fan, I'll probably watch. Let's see. And I've never been. Field of Dreams is only like, what is it? It's less than 2 hours from where I live. Maybe an hour and a half, because I think it's just on the other side of Dubuque. Hour and a half to 2 hours. And I've never been to the Field of Dreams. Let's see. Dollar Box says, agree to Victor. It convinced me to go hard on low end cards on eBay. Victor, rookie card specialist, says, what's your take on ComC as a platform to sell on? I don't have a take because I have never used it. However, I will say, I've thought about it. And so Paul follows up your question. He says ComC isn't worth it when you can list 100 plus per hour. So I will agree and disagree with that. So while yes, I can list 125-ish cards per hour using eBay File Exchange and listing to eBay, when I sell those cards, I have to pick, pack, and ship. Is that, yeah, pick, pack, and ship. So that's the part that, the listing, I don't mind sitting at a computer and actually having both duties doesn't really bother me because I have the ADD. It's just not diagnosed. But I can't sit in front of my computer and type on it for 8 hours. Neither can I sit down and ship for 8 hours. So I like having that, okay, I'm going to ship for 2 hours. I'm going to go upstairs and list for an hour. I'm going to come back downstairs and ship. And I like to go back and forth. So while it's not worth it, if you can list that much, that part, is taken care of. But when you sell on eBay, you have to pick, pack, and ship. And that's time consuming in itself. So, while it might not be worth it because of the listing aspect, it is worth it because of the pick, pack, and ship. Most of cards, though, I'm listing $1.50 cards. I'm listing Jeff Kunkel's and Brian Brahms. So I'm not going to send those to ComC because there's an insertion fee, and I think it's 50 cents. So you really have to watch, and somebody broke it down. I think it's got to be like $2 or $2.50 to really like make the juice worth the squeeze. Am I saying that right? So I think ComC is definitely a viable platform. It's just not for me. Same with Sportlots. Sportlots is a great selling platform if you are dedicated. Mike Summer, perfect example. He is dedicated to Sportlots and he has great success with it. When I was selling on Sportlots, it was for a time, but then it stopped being, it just became not worth it for me personally. And that's how I look at ComC. Right now I have the time to list. Could I be more efficient if somebody else was doing the picking, packing, and shipping? Probably, but I also have to put the inventory together, and it's always, probably twice a year, I'll get convinced. Mike will talk me into at least consider the idea. Uncle Rich, others that do ComC, but I just haven't pulled the trigger, and I don't see myself doing so at least in the next couple months. And I don't want to. That was one of the things about when I started this business last October. I'm going to stay in my lane, which is buying collections and lots, piecing them out, digging through bargain boxes, buying Goodwill pallets, which I didn't know about in October of last year. So that's been a pleasant surprise. But I'm going to stick to that lane, buying bulk and piecing it out and listing my existing inventory because I came into the business with 2 million cards on hand that I could list. So I didn't want to make any major changes within year one. It's like, well, if I'm going to do, everything within my power to list and ship and list through this first year. If it gets out of hand, I'll just have to ship and do less list. And not make any major changes like hiring somebody to do shipping, where right now, I can still basically double my sales volume and still handle handle the workflow, the workload. And that was another part. I'm not going to add another platform to sell on like a ComC or a Sportlots in year one. I'm going to stick to the plan for the first year. That first year is coming up. So will I reconsider? Maybe. I don't know if ComC is something that I just don't think it fits my, and everybody has differences. If you're selling a lot of $1.50 cards on eBay, ComC is probably not going to be worth it. But if you've got a lot of like $5, $10 cards, ComC is a great spot. So it's all, to each individual. So I guess that's, in a long-winded answer, my take on ComC. Jenny says ComC is definitely worth it to some and definitely not to others. My opinion, it's totally worth it to those that don't have time to list on eBay or for relic and thick cards of low dollar. I would agree with that because they can go ESC and likely don't move in your store bubble mailer, but on ComC, buyers can buy many to offset shipping costs. Sidebar, how to be a great seller. Never tell a buyer, my job is done because I shipped your card. Terrible response. I've seen that so many times on Twitter, and it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Jenny says, I got that response for asking when a package would ship, that a label was created for 3 days ago, no movement, so I simply asked. That's, that is a terrible response. Let's see. Dollar Box says, I bought but never sold on ComC simply because pricing is too undercut and it takes forever for them to list your cards. That's another thing that slowed me down. It was, when I can list all of these cards, I mean, think of the cards, even if you list 100 cards a day, which to me, and if you're using file exchanges, is like no time. I mean, you can just hammer that out in an hour, maybe 2 hours if you get distracted. At one time, and I don't know what the backlog time is for those cards to get listed, but, say I shipped them out today, it's going to take a few days to get to wherever, Seattle or wherever they're at. And then they're going to, it's going to be a while before they put them up. I think at one time it was like 6 months, and it's like 6 months. I can list thousands of cards in that time. And it's like, you're not moving any, inventory while they sit. So I agree with Dollar Box on that. That was another thing that slowed me down, because I've had probably twice in the past few years, I've had a box ready to go, and I've just kind of, I'm not going to do it because of this, and time was one thing. It's like, I don't want to wait 6 months. I can get these listed myself on eBay. And if it's 100 cards, I mean, that's nothing. To list, pick, pack, and ship. Jenny says, non-sport don't move much for me on eBay, so I made a 4-row quarter box for him at the show on Saturday. I have a good mix for the show, trying to have something for everyone. And here's why I wanted to do non-sports on eBay, because I, for several months, had a quarter box of non-sport cards and people wouldn't even look at them. Every once in a while, people would be like, are there any soccer in here? Do you have hockey in here? Do you have wrestling in here? And it's like maybe 3 or 4 cards, probably more wrestling than hockey and soccer at that time. But it's like, there's got to be a market for non-sports cards. I would, if I was at a card show and there was a quarter box of non-sports cards, and I'm saying like 70s and 80s, not, present or even mid to late 90s, but very early 90s, 80s, and 70s, I'd definitely look through them, and I'd probably buy some if they were the older non-sports cards. But I've got some Charlie's Angels cards, I think, in my eBay store for $1.50. Maybe I put them at $2.50. Maybe they're just overpriced. Maybe they're $1.50 cards. Let's see if I can. Oh crap. But yeah, I did a very minimal, maybe 20 cards, and I just didn't have any movement. So now they just kind of sit, and I don't even think I take the non-sports bargain box to my. So interesting. So it's not showing any active listings for Charlie's Angels. I'm not going to go through there right now, but I'm pretty sure I have 2 or 3 in my inventory box. So now I have to double check to make sure they're listed. Let's see. Jenny says I have 7 dime boxes ready to bring to the show on Saturday. Hopefully it's a hit. Speaking of shows, Jenny's going to be in Cambridge, Minnesota this Saturday. I'll be in Rockford, Illinois, the Northern Illinois Card Show at the Rock Church on Harrison Avenue. I'll have a great new selection, pretty much all new for the Rockford show, quarter boxes. So come check it out, check them out this Saturday in Rockford, Illinois at Rock Church for the Northern Illinois Card Show. Barry says, I just got done watching you on Hobby Hotline. I think it would work to create some type of company that builds storage units for card collecting. So that was brought up. So Mike Moynihan has the Beast, and it's this huge homemade, him and his dad made it, storage, nice wooden storage unit for his PSA collection. I think he said it holds 4,000 cards. That's amazing. But his son is into woodworking and thought about building these, specifically for cards and collectors. And initially I thought, I think Mike asked, would there be a market for it? And initially I said, yeah, there's definitely a market for it. I mean, here's how I look at if is there a market? Mike built one. So Mike's not the only person in the card collecting world that would see value to that, something like that. So if one person thinks it would be a good idea, I think there's a market for it. Maybe that's a poor line of thinking, but that's kind of how I process things. And then I thought about it, and it's like, I think that would be valuable to me, because initially I thought, well, I don't have many like high-end cards. And then I got to thinking about my Cubs collection, and it's like, well, actually I do have a lot. And it's, sometimes I don't want them displayed on a shelf, in my basement, because they may be exposed to too much light, or if the windows are open, sunlight. And then it's like, otherwise, there's a box over here somewhere that has a bunch of like my pre-war and, Ernie Banks rookie card and just in a white box. And it's like, I made the mention of, Mike Summer was on the show last night with us, and Herman, and they've both been down here. And it's like, yeah, I can, show you, here's the card room that you see on YouTube. But when I bring people, usually they just mouths open like, oh my God, that's a lot of cards, because, most of my friends don't do cards. Like that's just not their thing. And like one of these monster boxes, to most people in the world, this is a lot of cards. This is 4,000 to 5,000 cards. Like, oh my God, you have 5,000 baseball cards. It's like, oh yeah, I've got more than that. So it's like, jaw dropping, at the amount of cards, but it's like, in my friend Scott, who said, you should have a place where you can, when you have people over, you can show them cards. And I thought, I kind of dismissed the idea. It's like, but I don't do that. I have my ball wall, and and those have stories. But people are, curious about, even though the ball wall, it looks cool, and the stories sometimes can be fun. People, it's like, oh, it's just a baseball. And then there's a bunch of them. It's like, oh, it's, and to people that don't really, it's like, yeah, they're all the same. There's 240 white baseballs with somebody's name scratched across it. When you really put it down to it, it's like, it's boring. But cards, to me, that ball wall is special because of the stories behind the baseballs. But to somebody that walks into my basement, yeah, I can tell them a story of how I acquired the Chris Bryant autographed baseball, or, Justin Grimm was walking through the hotel and said, sorry guys, I'm not going to sign, gets to the elevator, all of a sudden does a U-turn, and he says, my wife told me I should come back and sign for you guys. And, it's like an assist from Justin Grimm's wife. There's stories involved. Those are meaningful to me, but, just to somebody coming in, oh, that cool story. But to actually see, it's a white baseball with somebody's name scribbled in blue ink. But baseball cards, especially when you're talking like in 1887 old Judge, and they pick it up and they're like, wow, this card is 100 and how old is that? 140? I can't do the math. 2022 minus 1887, 13, 22, 35. 135 years old. And it's like, wow. But to me, it's like, well, yeah, I bought it on eBay. It's like, I guess I'm in like John Keating says, he's a destination guy. I'm a journey guy. And I think that's why, the baseballs have stories for me, personal memories. Whereas a baseball card, a lot of my collection is just, I bought it on eBay, or, oh, I got that at a card show. I can't remember which one. Maybe, Chicago, maybe the National. But it's like, there's not really a story behind it. It's just a card. But to somebody that's never seen a 100 plus year old card, it's pretty cool. So I think there would be, for me, value. And it's like, I've thought about that since Scott mentioned that, like, you should have a place for your good cards to show them off. And that was a little enlightening for me. Okay. And then when Mike brought up his son building, like, you know what? I think, a nice, to put it, because white box, yeah, it's a freaking $4 white box. Looks like crap. Looks cheap. And here my best cards are, in a white box. So thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry. So if you didn't watch, go back and check out Hobby Hotline. Much like today, we went in. So the panel was Brad, Texas Card Dude, was on in the driver's seat, joined by Herman, 3B Collection, Mike Moynihan, myself, and then Mike Summer jumped on for most of the show. And we went in before we're, backstage, before we went live. We had no topics, much like this show today. 0 topics. But sometimes those are the best because, you just start going off on random. We talked sport lots today. We talked ComC. We talked eBay. We just talked a little bit about everything. So it was fun. It was a little clunky at the beginning. We were talking about finance stuff, and it's like, oh, man, this, uh-oh. But Brad did a great job. He got that plane straightened out. It was a little choppy. Takeoff was choppy last night on Hobby Hotline, but it was smooth sailing, and we made a nice landing at the end. So check it out, Hobby Hotline. It was a fun show last night. Mark Hoyle, what is up? Good morning. The only platform I've bought any cards on in the last 5 years is eBay or a purchase from a private seller. I may, as far as internet buying goes, platforms, I'm probably in the same boat. Well, I mean, if you don't count Walmart.com, Target.com below. Now that I think, okay, I bought from websites, but I haven't bought any cards from ComC in 5 years. I haven't bought any Sport Lots orders in 5 years. There's a couple others that I've never used. I've never used Whatnot, Star Stock, whatever that one was. I never used that or use it. I don't know if it's still around. But I bought from like the retailers. But as far as like specific card platforms, eBay is the only one. Jenny says you probably list 4,000 a month minimum. So 6 months is what, 24,000 you can list. Absolutely. Cliff says, I see a lot of breakers opening Bowman Star Wars and Marvel cards. My company bills where am I at? My company bills cabinetry. Those would not be cheaper to build. No, not at all. They would be, and it would be high end. I mean, it would be high end furniture. Each piece would almost be a custom item. And that's what he was talking about. So Mike's son is in woodworking, and he would basically build each cabinet to customize to the end user. So they would be expensive. It would be pricey. But I think there's a market for it. Because if somebody has a collection they want to put in a nice piece of furniture like that, they probably have the money to spend on a nice piece of furniture. Let's see. Jenny says, I caught bits of the show, going to rewatch today. Cliff says, it's okay. I keep my good cards in a white box too. Jenny says, last night's hobby hotline takeoff was like getting on the plane to Arizona and having the toilets not working and finally taking off. Yeah, a little rough start. Paige and Dina Bean, good morning to you. I'm exactly 1 hour and I've ran out of things to talk about. Hit the like button if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel. Today is Wednesday. It's trash day. It's also recycle day, so I've got to take the trash out. Hopefully my coffee, I still have a half cup of coffee. I didn't even drink any coffee because it's so bad. So hopefully it's better now that it's fully brewed. So yeah, that's what I had for today. Catch me in Rockford, Illinois this Saturday for the Northern Illinois Card Show in Rockford. I'll be there with brand new quarter boxes. So check them out. I'll have probably 20 quarter boxes. So plenty of cards to look through. And I will have fill a box for $20. In fact, a lot of the cards I decided not to, getting gassy, not to penny sleeve so you can fit more cards in those 100 count boxes. So come see me in Rockford this weekend. Baseball Card Illustrated, what is up? Quick question. What can you tell me about the show on Saturday? Never been, but thinking about going. It's a great show. It's in Rockford on the Randy's doing a countdown to the National. It's at the Rock Church, 9 to 3, free admission. I think there's going to be 80 tables. A nice mix of vendors. There's some good bargain box dealers, myself included. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm bringing some heat, bringing some bargain box heat this weekend. There's a couple other great bargain box dealers. It's the show that I pulled a $250 Ronald Acuna super short print out of a quarter box. The dealer jokes with me about that. There's also some great vintage dealers. There's a couple wax dealers. There's a couple slab dealers. So there's a nice mix of there's a nice variety. So yeah, it's a great show. Hopefully you can make it, and hope to see you there. Herman, have a great day. You as well. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Have a great Wednesday. I've got to take out the trash. We'll see you tomorrow.